Good evening, folks. Big Stu here, David Stewart, coming at you with some info, some news on the World of Warcraft Legion from the beta. And I'm going to talk just about the early parts of the beta, and hopefully on your screen you're going to see some gameplay from the Demon Hunter area. And the reason that I'm going to focus just on the early parts of the expansion is, first of all, I haven't gotten to play that much of the expansion because my real life has gotten in the way. But also because this early part of the expansion has left a really, really nasty taste in my mouth, and I want to give you guys some of the info for that. Now, there are some, I guess, plot spoilers I'm going to talk about that are important, so if you care about that sort of thing, you can turn this off. However, one of the plot spoilers will be spoiled to you within 10 seconds of installing the new expansion because it is the opening cinematic. So in the opening cinematic, they kill Varian Wrynn, which is really, really almost offensive to me because Varian Wrynn is a major lore character. And in the past, our major lore characters suffered their downfall or their triumph as a result of player action, like in a raid or a dungeon or something like that. Now, we got to see the Lich King die in a cutscene, more or less, but that cutscene was unlocked through our action in the raid and takes place where we fought the Lich King. So seeing somebody like Varian Wrynn die just in an opening cinematic, and of course they'll probably bring him back in some weird way, like he'll be undead or become a demon or something weird like that. But just seeing him die in the opening cinematic seems really cheap and almost offensive. Now, the opening cinematic looks pretty darn good. But it reminds me a lot of what current Hollywood movies do, which is it's lots of images, of flurry of action and things happening that doesn't really communicate any actual progress of any kind. It's Sylvanas and Varian like battling some demons, and that's pretty much it. Not that you need that much more in a World of Warcraft cinematic, but it seems at this point in time particularly without substance to me. Kind of contrived, kind of just not very authentic compared to what I'm used to. And now that I think about it, the entire expansion feels very contrived, and I can't shake this feeling whenever I'm attempting to play it, that it's just not very authentic, that it doesn't fit with what has come before it. It doesn't fit as part of the World of Warcraft. It doesn't fit in lore-wise. It doesn't fit in terms of its gameplay. It doesn't fit in terms of its style, its direction. Its conflict feels very fake and contrived, especially given what we've seen before. The Demon Hunter itself as a class feels inauthentic and just not right. The conflict that's displayed between the Horde and Alliance also feels very fake and like it's not really sold. I haven't been sold on it in the way they've presented it. Doesn't seem to make much sense to me. It seems like, the cinematic presents you with this competitive idea, and then you do this intro scenario that has this competitive idea like you're competing with the Horde but not fighting them. It all feels very weird and not like it belongs in the World of Warcraft. So if you are watching this video and you're not just listening to what I'm saying, you're going to see some video footage of the opening starting area for the Demon Hunter, the new class in WoW Legion. And as I played through this area, a couple of things struck me. First of all, it looks like something we've seen before. It looks like Shadowmoon Valley from Burning Crusade. So I felt like there was this rehashed element, like they're bringing back some aesthetics that they've already used in previous expansions. It's not that bad, but that's how it feels. In terms of lore, I was assaulted with things that felt very conflicted to what I thought had already been resolved in prior expansions. Namely, Illidan should be dead, and he's not dead. He's in like a prison. And you also are still working with these Illidari forces that were wiped out in the Burning Crusade by your other character that raided the Black Temple and killed everyone. And you're kind of like teleporting them in to fight these demons. And for some reason, these demons are fighting the Burning Legion, and we're never quite told why, other than all of a sudden everybody's a good guy and no longer a bad guy bent on domination. That's the basic explanation they give you, and it's never really sold very well. And I guess overall, the Demon Hunter starting area doesn't appear to be all that bad. It looks really good. There's lots of things to see. There's lots of things to do. It kind of drags you through this storyline, although I think it's a really, really bad storyline, and tries to introduce your skills to you one at a time to give you skills. But the whole thing ends up failing. Even though it's very flashy, it's very fun to look at, sort of, it ends up failing as a game for a couple of reasons. The first one is that it's just too easy to even bother with. It's so easy that I don't think you can even purposefully fail at this particular attempt. I don't think you can die in this. And I remember when I was playing through this, I got up and walked away to mess with my son or something, and I came back and there were mobs attacking me and I was about to die, and some NPC just like healed me to full health and I didn't die. So there's not even like an option of dying. The only way you can die is if you choose to die in this one little choice, which makes no difference because you walk 2 feet back to your body and res and nothing bad has happened. So it's incredibly easy. Now, the incredible ease of that takes away from the feeling that you would normally get from playing a game, especially a game where you're trying to be like a heroic character of some kind. And the reason for that is because the feeling of being heroic comes from overcoming heroic challenges, and there are no heroic challenges in this. There's the appearance of something that should be heroic, something that would appear heroic in a cinematic sense, like if you were watching it on a movie screen. But as soon as you transport it into the game environment, it loses that feeling because the desire of the player is to interact with the game and to overcome challenges and to feel like they're the hero because they've done something great. So all of that feeling is gone. It's completely easy. There's even these points where like you go in and you attack like a raid boss, and there's all these NPCs fighting a raid boss, and it just feels empty and dull and boring and stupid because you go in and you press a button and like you freeze the raid boss, and then you leave and everyone's cheering you and telling you you're a great hero. But the truth is you don't feel like a hero just because NPCs are calling you a hero. You actually would feel like a hero if you had done something difficult and failed at it multiple times and then finally been successful and earned the feeling of being heroic. This opening area also fails even when it comes to the way that it gives you your skills. It has this little method of giving you your skills and your talents where it gives you one at a time. Like you go kill this NPC and then you get his skill. And then when you have his skill, then you get to use his skill. You get to put it on your bars. And that way they could start you off with 2 skills and give you one at a time, kind of like an accelerated leveling experience. And on the surface, that seems like a really good idea. You're not going to overload your players. You're going to let them get used to the class, really learn how to play it. Except that these skills in no way confer any advantage to you because of how easy the game is. The game is so easy, at least this intro area, is so easy that you can literally get through every single thing with just auto attack or just pressing one button. You don't have to press more than one button. There are no challenges that you can't overcome by pressing one button here. So as you get the skills, the only reason to use them, and the only reason I found using any of them, was that they looked cool. And that's not a very good reason to use a skill in a game, is that it looks cool. You want to use a skill because it is somehow useful. And the skills look powerful. They look like they'll do stuff, except they don't appear to give you any advantage because everything is just killed by pressing button 1 or button 2 if you feel like actively pressing buttons. Otherwise, you can just right-click and you will gain victory. Now, I know what some of you are thinking or saying. David, this is an introductory zone. This is not just to introduce veteran players to a new class, but to possibly introduce new players to the game. So it needs to be a little bit easier. It needs to be geared towards people who don't have the experience of the game. And I'm going to rebut that by saying that once upon a time, the starting zones in World of Warcraft could kill you. In fact, they frequently would kill you if you didn't know what you were doing, and you had to learn the hard way how to play your class. If you rolled a mage and you didn't realize that, trolls in the cave could wreck you, you would die until you figured out how to kill them efficiently. That was part of the process, and once you did figure out how to kill them efficiently, it felt good. It felt like you were making progress not only in terms of leveling up, but you were getting better at the game. You were mastering the World of Warcraft. You were becoming stronger. Now, these problems actually persist beyond the Demon Hunter starting area. If you choose to play one of your older characters, one of the things you will be treated to as sort of the introduction to this expansion, besides the cinematic that kills Varian, is this scenario where you kind of go through this demonic wasteland and chase down Gul'dan and listen to him talk to some NPCs, and then it kind of ends. Well, this scenario is probably the least interactive thing I've ever seen in the World of Warcraft. In the Demon Hunter area, at least you have to right-click things. At least you have to click objects to progress through the various scenes of what you're seeing. In the scenario, if for your non-Demon Hunter character, you do literally nothing. You can do literally nothing, and the scenario will literally play itself. The NPCs will go through every area, kill all the mobs, heal you. I even killed myself at one point in the scenario just to see what would happen, and all that happened is Jaina or someone rezzed me immediately without any weight, and I could just run back into whatever killed me and just repeat ad nauseum. There is kind of a point in that scenario where you see some horde across the lava, and you're like, cool, there's horde in this scenario with me, but you don't interact with them. A raid boss moves from you to them and they DPS it, but the DPS is irrelevant because the NPCs will just kill it anyway. The NPCs will play the scenario for you. So it ends up coming off as just a really, really bad piece of content. Not because it looks bad, it looks really good. Again, everything in Legion looks really good. What makes it bad is that there is no gameplay. The gameplay is bad. It's non-existent and pointless. And so therefore, it's boring. Another thing I noticed with my non-Demon Hunter character was that a lot of my skills have disappeared. They've once again eliminated a bunch of skills from the game, which makes me feel like it's being dumbed down. There's less skills in it than there have ever been. There's all kinds of empty spots on my action bars that used to be constantly full of things. I find myself wanting to use certain skills that I remember being useful but have gone away. Lots of skills have been repurposed into talents. Overall, it's dumbed down and it's made to be easier because keeping track of lots of skills can be difficult. So it feels a lot easier in that respect as well. Which is to say nothing of the resource management that's currently in the game. You no longer have to manage health or mana the way you used to, where it takes a while to get back mana or it takes a while to get back health. It feels like even at a high level, your health and mana just sort of instantly restores itself, making the game feel more repetitive, less strategic, and just easier overall. One of the things that's been very touted and very sort of built up about this new expansion is this idea that you can do the leveling content in whatever order you want. You no longer have to do this zone then that zone because of your level. You can do any zone in any order and it will sort of level you up to the zone. This is an idea that a lot of people liked. Elder Scrolls Online does it with some of its DLC, and of course did it with its single-player games. And a lot of people like this idea. They're like, if I don't like a zone, I could skip it. I can go to the next zone. In practice, however, it feels like they've tuned all of the content to be very, very easy. Easy enough that I got very, very bored with the Broken Isles and really haven't wanted to pick this game back up in quite a while. And I'm making this video literally weeks after I've recorded the footage because I just can't really get up any kind of desire to play the game. That's sort of where I'm at with this. So when you actually go out and see this in the world, it ends up being just feeling easy no matter what you do. It used to be if you felt like a zone was a little too easy, you could kind of skip it and go to the next zone with higher level mobs, do some orange quests instead of yellow quests, and they'd offer you a lot of challenge and then offer you also some good rewards, maybe some items or some more XP or something like that for doing the harder quests. Or as you just persisted through a zone, you'd end up doing harder quests no matter what. That's not the case anymore. Now it all pretty much feels like the same gray, repetitive, boring thing. There's no challenge in it. It's tuned to be very, very easy. So what all of this means to me is that there has been a drastic decrease in the amount of interactivity in the World of Warcraft, in the gameplay of the World of Warcraft. And not only has there been a decrease in interactivity, but in some cases the fail state, that state that a lot of people use to define a game, the ability to fail at what you're doing. The failure state doesn't exist. You can't fail, meaning it's not really a game. And I've said before that the art of a game is not its visual tapestry, right? Legion looks great. It's a really good looking game. The art team at Blizzard always does a great job, but the art of a game is not its visuals. It is its gameplay. So what do you have left when you take away the gameplay? Well, in the case of these opening scenarios, especially, and the Demon Hunter area with World of Warcraft, what you're left with is this very odd, very long, very boring cinematic-like experience where you're moving from scene to scene, looking at what you want to look at. With the Demon Hunter area, you're clicking a couple things, you're killing a couple things before getting to move on to see the next thing. In the scenario, literally, you don't have to do anything. You just can follow Jaina around and it's fine. You can see whatever you want to see. It really is like a strange movie where you can look at what you want to look at rather than see what the director wants you to see. And maybe there's something to be said for that. Like maybe that is some other kind of art form. But it's not a game. And I play a game to play a game, not to see really long cinematics. And they end up being kind of boring because they take so long to get through compared to like what an actual movie would show you. If you were to watch, the opening Demon Hunter area as a movie, it'd be 20 minutes of material to get through that story and sort of explain to the listener what's going on and also provide them plenty of great visuals to excite them. This one has all these sort of exciting animations and visuals, but there's just not any substance there because there's no gameplay. Your gameplay, like the ability to play your class, has no impact on the outcomes of whatever you're doing, which ends up making things feel boring and pointless. Okay, so maybe you're one of those people that this experience actually really appeals to. Maybe you really like the, visually exciting story mode quest chain that they're doing with this, and you really you wanted like an easygoing leveling experience getting up to max level. You like these sorts of zones that just sort of lead you through things. And I totally don't mean to insult anyone with that description. Maybe this actually does appeal to you, even though it doesn't appeal to me. That's okay. Even if this appeals to you, I think it's going to have some really, really bad outcomes at max level. Because when things are this easygoing, when you get up to max level, you're going to have an issue. You're going to have a skill gap. There's going to be a big chasm of skill between the people who've played the game before and the people who are new. Because if you're new and you start off as a Demon Hunter in this zone and it's easy, and then you go do the next zone and it's easy, and you get up to max level and it's easy, and then you're like, okay, I've got some gear, let's go raid, and all of a sudden it's really hard, you're going to get really discouraged and want to quit the game, or you're going to wonder what the hell is going on, or you're going to check out and go play alts. You're not going to have a good time at max level if you're a new player. And if you're a veteran player, you're going to be dealing with a bunch of new players who can't play because they've never experienced the challenge of World of Warcraft. Your only hope is to find people who've raided in previous expansions, because that's the only way that they'll really have the skill level to raid in this expansion. Because I don't know how you're going to bridge the skill gap. I don't know where the skill gap is between like Raid Finder and like heroic raiding, if it's normal raiding or not. Because I think normal raiding is like way, way harder than Raid Finder, even though normal raiding is not very difficult. Like the skill level between that is like a gigantic jump. So how is that going to be bridged? I have no idea. But I do know that if the leveling content's really easy, you're going to produce a set of expectations in new players that the entire game plays like that. And then when they get to raiding and dungeons at max level, they are probably going to have a bad time with it. All of these things compel me to answer the question, will Legion save World of Warcraft? With a resounding no. No, I do not believe Legion will save World of Warcraft. I believe with Legion you have the same bad raiding setup that you had with Warlords of Draenor that will cause all the same problems. You're going to have a big gulf between the people who are hardcore raiders and the people who are new players, and it's going to get worse as they continue to dumb down the gameplay. You have a community that is worse than it's ever been. You have a community with more ways to abuse itself than has ever been in the game. You have a worse PvP system, though I don't talk about it in this video, than I think has ever existed in the game. And in general, you have a game that is less like itself than it has ever been. With each successive expansion, with each successive patch, more things that made World of Warcraft are removed from the game. Like, I wouldn't doubt at some point that quest dialogue will be like removed from the game, and they'll just be arrows telling you what to click on, right? More and more stuff's getting not just dumbed down, but removed from the game. In fact, I think the current developers who are making World of Warcraft, the current developers in charge of this, I think that they actually hate World of Warcraft, because every single time they can change the game, they remove elements from the game. They, quote, streamline it, but really they're just dumbing down the game. And I don't think we're going to ever see a return to glory days. I think World of Warcraft at this point is like the Metallica of MMOs. That you have a setup where you are waiting patiently for Metallica to come out with a good album, and you know in your heart that they never will. I know in my heart that Blizzard will never make a World of Warcraft expansion that will satisfy me again. I don't think they make this game for me anymore. I think it's made for other people who like this style of gameplay, that it appeals to them more. I don't really know who their audience is, but they probably do, and I don't think it's me. And if you're like me and you played the game back in the day, I really don't believe that this version of the game will remotely satisfy you. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate all the feedback that you have. Please let me know what you think about Legion so far, if you are in the beta or anything like that. I apologize for the tardiness of this video. I've had a lot going on, so this is possibly beyond, its relevant window. But take my opinion for what it is. I don't think I'm going to continue playing the WoW Legion beta, simply because it doesn't interest me at all at this point. It's too boring for me to play compared to all the other things that I can do in my life, like, write books, or, write music, or make YouTube videos, or play games that are actually fun in the moment that I'm playing them and actually deliver me at least some sort of challenge, deliver me at least something to over. And I'm coming to grips with the reality that if I actually want to play an MMO, it probably needs to be an older MMO, because I just don't have a lot of faith that Blizzard is going to provide to me the experience that I actually want from an MMO. But I appreciate you guys watching. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you later.